thank you to Ken Louie, our gracious host and moderator who made this event possible. And thanks to my good pals and colleagues, Michelle Rouch and Mark Pestana. And we're here. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out the art gallery online on the link. I know it's not working for everyone. It's had some issues, but it's pretty cool if you can see it. And certainly the start of future events like this, which will make better and grander. But thanks for joining us. Since we are artistes, of course, we are all prepared. And as far as I'm concerned, the virtual bar and hors d'oeuvres are open, but you have to provide your own. That's the best we can do in this environment. Hey, I would say whoever wants to join us for a chat, please indicate to our host, and we're here to hang out with you and answer questions, and let's make it fun. Over to you guys.
Thank you very much. So this is the first time we're having this e-gallery. The e-gallery is what we can do with this, not so physical distance, but not social distance, because it is not very social if we're getting close and we're trying to get to know one another. And we have some artwork to show you. Not only do we have the gallery we can go through, but we also have our own gallery with Mark. He has his, and also there's Marty, and then also with Aldo, and we can share what we've done, and you can ask questions as well. So looking forward. Hey, Mark, why don't you share a little bit of your side?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sitting in my, I call it my studio, aerospace museum, library, office, because it's all of the above. I've got bookcases of reference material, and the walls are covered with various artwork of other artists. I think I have a couple of mine up here. And right over my shoulder is my drafting table. I don't work on an easel, I work on a drafting table. I usually stand when I'm painting and look down at it, slightly angled. But there's a few paintings back here I'm working on. And some of my inspirations behind me are, there's a movie poster, original poster from the movie X-15, filmed at Edwards Air Force Base back in the 60s. I've got a Apollo 17 launch signed by 28 astronauts from Mercury through Apollo and some shuttle. I've got the rocket I rode to the moon on and from Disneyland right there. And the film The Right Stuff poster there. I have a couple of James Bond posters because I'm a James Bond fan too. I even have up on top there G.I. Joe in a Mercury spacesuit. So I've got a lot of different things here. On the other wall here, I have some inspirations. Robert McCall, who did the artwork for 2001 Space Odyssey, he signed some of these prints of his. I have the Paul Colley Neil Armstrong sketch signed by both of them, and a personalized Neil Armstrong portrait when I worked in Houston. So I'm surrounded by inspirations from other artists. In another room, I have artwork from Aldo and Michelle and other artists. It's a guest room.
Very cool. Hey, Mark, and, that X-15 movie had Charles Bronson in it, didn't it?
And Mary Tyler Moore.
Ah, okay. See, this is before he was the mechanic.
That's right. Long before, yeah.
Very cool.
So behind me are 4 paintings in various stages of work. I don't want to talk any longer. I mean, we can go back and if somebody wants to know about those. And
well, Ken, I think Brooke Burnett wants to join us. Can you enable him to get in?
Okay.
And by the way, welcome to Michelle. I see Michelle's and I see Marty Waldman. So welcome, you guys.
Thanks. Good to be here.
All right.
Wherever here is.
Okay. Anybody have any questions right now for me, or I'll move along, get a tour from Aldo or Michelle?
So let me bring you back over to my studio, and then so what I want to share with you is my journey of how to make one of the paintings that I did for the book, the last book that we're going to be publishing of Al Worden. I did a series, and that's what you see behind me. is a series of artwork, the illustrations for his book. There was a total of 13. And I used the agile methodology to create most of the artwork. So in a matter of one weekend, I created 5 pieces of work. And then I got to more and more of the complex ones, and they took a long time. So you could see there's a study of the walk of the, gosh, this wine is not helping. What is this thing called?
Apollo 15 crew?
No. The
Catwalk.
So it's the walk.
The
And
walkway. The walkway.
the walkway. So as you know, that the Saturn V is, you know, they're walking towards it, and they have their environmental packs. And why I didn't use this is because we only saw a small amount of Al Warden. And part of the poem is for him to look out on the sea. So then that was the sketch, and that was great. But then I created this one, and this is called, not politically correct, it's Al's Catwalk. So, because he's just not a politically correct kind of guy. And this image does not exist in any photograph, and it was a very long process to get as much of the information correct on there. And he's looking out to the sea, and I just enjoyed making that.
What a great piece, Michelle. I love it.
Yeah.
So thank you. The last one that I created was the most difficult one. And because I was running out of time, and this was around August timeframe, it was June timeframe. And what happens with engineering, we never go right to production, right?
Right.
We never go to, we do prototypes.
We have to test.
So,
Okay. Yes.
right? So I didn't do that. I skipped a step. So I went and I tried to immediately go into production to create the final piece. And you will see this one, and you will see, and then I'll show you the sketch, and then I'll show you the final. So this was trying to go to production, meaning the very last painting. This is not, that's a blip. So I was trying to practice with a airbrush. So don't go to production on trial. And there was a lot of errors. So I then did the prototype. As people should know that you can erase with pencil and add and change, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then you got a production.
Undo is best with pencil. Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
And I absolutely loved the feedback, not only what you guys offered me, but Francis French, Al Warden, he provided, of course, what I shared with him is all the 13 paintings, including this, and he shared with me the errors. And I got some really good critique from him and all his memory when he was in outer space. And then what I really enjoyed is getting that moment in time where he remembered that spacewalk.
Wow.
And I just loved capturing that moment. And I knew that I needed to collect that energy to make it bigger and better. And that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you.
That is so cool, Michelle.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for Al.
Oh,
Rest
Yeah.
in peace. Rest in peace.
Oh.
Hey, Ken, I see Michelle and Burke are on now, but they're muted. If you could unmute them.
Okay, I think they can unmute themselves.
Oh, okay.
I muted mine because my dog thinks he needs to talk to everybody, and I promise I'll unmute. But Guinness the Wonder Mutt thinks
Hello,
that everybody
dog.
wants to talk to him.
Okay. Well, yeah, I still never figured out the controls between the host muting and unmuting and the folks. But
Oh, Rick is here. Do you want to bring him in?
Rick who?
Sternbach.
Oh,
Stand back.
Ricky! Of course, Rick.
Ricky!
Yeah, of course.
And where's Burke? I don't see Burke.
He's there.
Hey there, hey Burke.
You have to kind of move. There's arrow move around in the
Oh,
gallery
I see.
view.
The spacesuit in the background.
Okay,
There he is.
I spotlight him, then you will see.
Yeah.
I see it.
Good to see you, Burke.
Aloha.
Aloha kako. I'm Honolulu.
Yeah. Wow, a guitar and a spacesuit. I mean, how cool is that?
Well, actually, a bunch of guitars, but I'm setting up a new Mac, so.
Oh, and a Mac as well. You're the man. Okay.
It's a great
As you can see,
iPad.
Burke, we are living the artiste life here. So it's all good. It's all good.
It's all good.
Oh, you want to bring Doug Forrest?
Doug is asking, yeah.
Oh, Doug, yeah, bring on Doug. Absolutely.
And Aldo, can you see I think there's a question for Mark. Do you want to, you can see Q&A. You click it, you should see I think there's a question for Mark.
Okay. Hey, it's my friend, Tom Blixt. He says, is your favorite art subject space related, or do you get inspired by everyday nature? Oh, wow, that's a loaded question. Of course I get inspired. I've got, I can go run and get some seascapes and landscapes, and yeah, I do a lot of landscape paintings. Of course, a lot of planetary art. If you want to show my screen, Ken.
Show more.
Okay, let me show you a screen right now. Yours.
Okay. For an example, here's a beautiful landscape. It happens to be on another planet, though, or the moon. But it's just kind of a prototype landscape. I did a miniature right here of depicting the new spacesuits that were unveiled a few months ago by NASA Johnson Space Center. And I chose this pose because the new suits are so flexible, unlike Apollo, which were very stiff and cumbersome. They would fall over a lot. These suits, the engineers demonstrated these suits, and I was amazed by this crouching position. So I did a study based on the photographs, and then I planned to do a larger scene, probably put a lunar module in back whenever the lunar module design is decided. But yeah, I love, thanks for the question, Tom. And my friend Tom, who asked the question, his wife is one of the great landscape artists of California, lives up in Pico. So thank you.
Is Aldo, Diane, Miss Tyler, you would like to join? You want to bring her in, or?
She's awesome. She wrote an article about us space artists here in Tucson and published it in the magazine Zocalo. And she's not only an accomplished artist, she makes glass figurines, and she is also a journalist.
So Diane, join us by all means.
Yeah, she should be in now.
Okay.
I think Rick is unmuted.
Yeah, I
So.
see Rick and Doug. Hey, you guys.
Hey, you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Hi, Mark.
Hey there.
Oh, and there's Diane. Welcome.
Yeah, hi.
Testing 1, 2, 3,
Hi,
4,
Diane.
5.
Yeah, we hear Rick. We hear Rick. All right. Welcome,
Hey,
everyone.
Diane, I was just mentioning to the folks how you wrote a wonderful article of us IAAA folks here in Tucson and published it in the magazine Zocalo, and I really appreciate it. Thank you. And you're an accomplished artist creating artwork, and you also exhibit for many years at Space Fest with the
Fused
glass.
Fused glass.
Yeah, it is amazing. People
Thanks.
should really come to your booth and oogle over everything.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
I love your stuff, Diane.
Thanks. I'm honored to be in a group that is so fantastic.
All right. Wow.
Do you have a sample handy to show us?
Sure, let me grab something.
All right. Zoom is about show and tell.
Yeah. And what's really awesome is that she has this, and she lives here in Tucson, and it's amazing. And I really appreciate that she has done this for us, not only putting us space artists on the map here in Tucson. Oh wow!
Oh,
Wow!
See that or not?
Oh wow!
I remember that piece. Very cool.
Yeah,
I love it.
still hanging around. It might be on the website too. I'm not sure. In a different format, maybe.
And Dougie.
Hey,
Hey,
I got some new stuff. Do you want to see?
Yeah.
Sure.
I love that.
Here's a let's see. That's a,
Oh wow.
something I did for a commission. It's a lot bigger than this for real. I did this just at the beginning of the new year.
Beautiful.
I just printed this out. This is actually the very first test print I did yesterday. I also did this one. This is actually, let me take it out of the bag. This one is one I actually started 3 years ago, and it's signed. I actually got him to sign it.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Oh, man, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I just finished it, you know, because I've got all this time in my hand, of course. And also at the same time, the same year, I did this one. And if some of you know, I had a bit of a dialogue with Dave, and it was this that got that started.
Yeah.
Because I had him sign it. And so yeah, so I've been busy.
Awesome.
Doing a few things. Got lots on the go. I mean, this is my studio. Yeah, as you can see, it's a bit of a mess. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but that's basically where I sit and draw.
All right.
Right, drafting table. Good.
Yeah,
Cool.
pretty much. And you know, I've got some good company up on the wall here, and and another one over there. Yeah, it's all good. I don't know about you guys, but I'm in a way, although I'm not working, I'm actually kind of enjoying having all this time off. It's kind of nice.
Actually, I can't agree with you more. I felt like I was going 1,000 miles a minute, and there was no way to slow it down. And with the pandemic happening, I took this opportunity to really unplug and enjoy just the simple things in life, like how it was back in the 80s. You guys remember the 80s?
Yeah.
We didn't have
And Michelle, Mimi is
interrupting.
online. Sorry, Mimi is
Oh,
online.
Mimi!
Mimi!
Super. Gotta get online. I can't wait. So she usually has her computer on in her beautiful gallery that she has. And I tell you, I really enjoy having this time just to recharge the batteries. It's the best feeling.
Yeah, I
How about
agree.
you guys?
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny for me. I mean, I've been working out of this room you see right here anyway. So, man, I'm as busy as ever. So I've got to chill out a little bit, and that's what I'm doing right at this moment. Hey.
Hey!
So good to see you. Wow, what a great studio. Look at that.
You're at the
Fabulous. Fabulous colors. Oh, I love the dynamics of,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Oh my goch, I love the dynamic of the bicycle.
Oh, man. Awesome.
You can see the gravity.
Einstein.
That's
You
Einstein.
can feel the gravity.
I can
Wow.
hardly, I can't distinguish Mimi from her artworks. She's got that
Ah!
Awesome.
And there's Doug. Hey, Doug. And all
Hiya.
Aw,
How you doing?
great.
Very
How's
good.
everyone?
Yeah.
Doing great.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
We are living the
We were
life of
talking
artists.
That's right.
Hey,
Here's your art and
Something
creativity,
red.
all of you.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate everybody joining us. Thank you, Brad. Oh my gosh. And Mike Mikowski. Mike is he's a modeler.
Oh, yeah.
He is an accomplished modeler. And I can really, really appreciate those modelers because I'm married to one. And with the expert eyes of a airplane modeler or any type of person who has a trained eye, if your lines, lines are everything, right? So if your cylinder or anything is out, someone who is a modeler, not necessarily like a cylinder, but an airplane, like an engine intake, as my husband always cues in on, he goes, nope, time to go to the museum. Because you got to sometimes see your models up front and close. And he has my husband has a lot of material. You guys are modelers. I know you guys, Aldo and Mark.
Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't, but I got an encyclopedia. So I may not be the modeler, but when I created my badges for my company, my husband's title is quality inspector. So
actually, I had a question for everybody.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey, Matt.
Yeah, I wanted to actually wanted to know how are all of you doing with your art sales in the last 2 months? I'm actually very curious to know if they've been the same, if they've gone down or up, because obviously some people are more strapped on cash. On the other hand, if you're stuck at home for a long period of time, you might want to change of the scenery on your walls. So I can kind of imagine it going both ways. I'm curious to know how you guys are doing with your art sales for the last 4, 6, 8 weeks.
Well, I had several commissions before this all happened, so I had the opportunity to get commissions done in record time. I usually tell customers they've got to wait 3 or 4 months, but within a month I completed 3 commissions. And the sales have dropped because our participation in events has dropped. Various events that we were going to be doing, and like Space Fest that was supposed to be coming up will be next year. But it gives me an opportunity to work on paintings that I've had in my mind forever that I wanted to do for myself. And so I've been working on a lot of those type of paintings.
Yeah, for me, as Mark said, the gallery type of sales, which is not really a big part of my normal activity anyway, given that, ISDC and STE, Space Tech Expo, and now Space Fest is bit the dust for the year anyway. Those are down. But normally I work on commissions and consulting kind of illustration for aerospace companies or other clients. And man, that has been great. As a matter of fact, just keep it between us, but I just got contacted by Estes Industries and they want me to design rocket kits for them. So man, that's so much fun. So we're in the middle of, I'm negotiating with Bill Stein, who's their general manager and president, who Rick Sternbach hooked me up with. So thanks, Rick. And hopefully that'll be a go. So I am as busy as I can possibly be on that kind of work, working to envision other, companies, space visions and products and stuff like that. But I do hope the gallery side of the business picks up and we could all, and that's much more of a personal thing. You got to show up at the event and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, Michelle mentioned space modeling. I'm still cranking out decals. And the PayPal comes in, so I'm working away.
That's great.
Yeah.
A lot of people are busy then.
Yeah.
And Matt, for myself, there have been 2 big points in time where I continue to make money. However, those art shows that were the wonderful art shows from ISDC, usually there's about 2 or 3 per month that I have. We had to cancel the Sip and Paint with Hoop Gibson here in Tucson, and that would have been a beautiful one.
Oh boy.
And so I'm thinking about doing a Sip and Paint, but it's going to be completely donated time to raise money for Kelsey Poor. and I can't remember how to pronounce that one. That the nonprofit organization that they donate to, that
Oh, I
her dad
forgot.
died from.
Oh, yeah.
How do you pronounce it?
Ataxia. Ataxia.
Ataxia,
The
yeah.
Ataxia
Thank you.
Foundation, right.
Yes, and that's the one we're going to raise money for. And so instead of you know, trying to get some excitement before the next Space Fest. So for myself, I keep myself busy. The gallery, they are kind of shut down. The one gallery sold my artwork, and that was right before the closure, and I was very happy about that one. And that was Dinah Medeiros. Dinah Medeiros, she is a well accomplished artist here in Tucson, and the image of the artwork is in this this banner. So it's not this big, but I was very happy about the original being sold. But the galleries are all suffering.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm actually friends with Matt Hawkins. Now, he's not in the aerospace industry, but he is the CEO and president of Top Cow Comics. And it's very interesting because he was telling me how so many artists, like comic artists, and of course this might apply to aerospace artists as well, he really showed me how much they depend on these, you know, conventions, like and these expos. These really are money makers for some of these people, especially if, you know, it's a large part of their income.
Right.
So he said, you know, just a couple of expos in a row canceled could be, you know, pretty devastating for actually some people if that's most of their income.
Right. Yeah.
I heard about the Phoenix Comic Con and how much that hurts the industry. Exactly what you said, Matt.
Yeah.
It really hurts them.
Now, I don't have any space art to show, but I thought you guys might just want to see this. As you know, here in Phoenix, where I am right now, they started opening up almost all businesses with, you know, only a couple restrictions. But I was in an antique store and I bought from the guy, or from, you know, his booth there, just a couple of aerospace, you know, little.
Uh-oh.
Matt froze up. Oh, there we go.
Can you see me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is Spaceport USA brochure I got. So that's a one for the Florida Museum. Here was a NASA one for the space shuttle, like right before it had launched. And here's a postcard of Kennedy Space Center. Here was a information summary for Space Lab, Space and Rocket Center in Houston. And I think, let's see, what do we have here? Delta II rocket, postcard for Boeing, and finally the STS-1 launch.
All right.
Nice.
Hey,
yeah, Yuri's night was going to be a big night.
Oh, that was devastating.
Yuri's night would have been a big night too, with all the people that all those organizations in Florida for Apollo 13. It would have been big.
Oh, yeah. Here in LA too.
Yeah, in LA, exactly. Exactly.
No, I did check out Yuri's night. They were one of the earlier, you know, Zoom broadcasts during this whole thing.
Yeah, although you're right. Actually, Marty and I, we have the AIAA, LALB Yuri's night on Zoom.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah, Marty was, you know, hosting that very good. But and also, I think Mark, there's a Q&A for you. Did you see it?
Okay, let me look. So, question is from my friend Tom. My 50-year high school reunion. Thanks for dating me. 50-year high school reunion is next year. Thinking back over the years, what has been your most inspirational event that shaped your artist career? Oh my. There's a number of milestones that shaped my artist career. One of them was back in 1990, I entered a contest in the Air Force, art contest, and in the entire Air Force, I won first place. And that was just astounding. I was totally shocked, but it got me recognized at pretty high level. and became affiliated with the Air Force Art Program. And today I have 14 paintings in the Pentagon collection. So it's an honor to do that. You know,
Bravo, Mark.
Yeah, well done.
Well done.
Thank you. The other accomplishment happened many years later. Through my affiliation with the American Society of Aviation Artists, I met Robert McCall, and I have some of his artwork here in my studio. Robert McCall did the artwork for 2001 Space Odyssey. He did the fantastic space mural at the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. But he was commissioned by NASA to paint a Centennial of Flight mural, and which is a 17 by 30 foot mural at the Armstrong Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base. But when he did the color study, which is just 6 feet long, only 6 feet long, he asked me to model as a figure in the painting, and I have the only reproduction he did of that, a giclée on canvas signed by Robert McCall, and here I was a model in one of his paintings. So it just, it kind of brought it all together.
That's so cool.
And then
I would have modeled like an Egyptian.
Yeah. So I want to take this opportunity also to tell you all about a recent project I was involved with, not on my art, but on somebody who was influential for all of us. You may recall the late great artist Chesley Bonestell, and here's an example.
Who is
of,
that guy?
Chesley Bonestell created this art back in the 40s, 50s, 60s. This particular one is an orbiting space station. And actually it was a collaboration with Wernher von Braun. Some of von Braun's ideas were brought to fine art by Chesley Bonestell. So that artwork inspired me when I was very young. And recently, thanks to Ken, at an AIAA event, I met the director of this film, Mr. Douglas Stewart, who produced this and directed this film about Chesley Bonestell. Now, when Mr. Stewart approached me at the AIAA meeting, he knew about my affiliation with NASA, my career with NASA, and he approached me and asked, what would it take to get this film sent to the International Space Station? And the look on my face initially probably told the story. I told him I envisioned months of meetings, payload integration reviews, lots of paperwork, lots of briefings, a lot of naysayers. But thankfully, I had some good contacts in Houston. I talked to them, and I won't go through all the details, but in March 12th, I think it was, this film was transmitted to the International Space Station and is in their onboard library for the crew to view.
Nice.
And so that's a pretty remarkable milestone. You will all read about it in the upcoming Pulsar magazine, by the way.
Yes.
So, and it was in the ASAA Aerobrush, too.
Aerobrush. That was a great article and picture in the Aerobrush.
Thank you. But I was happy to be, a middleman helping out, and really pleased that now this film exists. Chesley Bonestell is in space. Great story.
Yeah,
thank you.
Actually, Mr. Doug Stewart has an article on our AIAA newsletter last month. He has an article on this one.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks to Mark. Yeah.
Actually, Mark, a quick question for you. I'm always been curious. What is the internet connection like on the International Space Station? What kind of connection do they use? Is it just web browsers? How does that work exactly?
I don't know all these specific details, but they have use of the KU band system through TDRS satellites, so it's a nearly continuous transmission capability, very high quality. Much of what the crew gets as far as film and music is transmitted and stored for their personal use, but they have watched live World Cup soccer from the International Space Station, so it's that good that they can do that.
Yeah, I've got a question from Brooke Burnett. He wants to know about the rockets back here. So let me just see. I've been a model rocket guy my whole life, so this one here is a kind of a semi-scale version of the rocket from the 1950s film Destination Moon, which was kind of a landmark film because it was one of the first science fiction movies that didn't, feature space monsters and all kinds of freaky stuff like that. It was trying to depict what an actual trip to the moon might be like with real engineering. So this was a nuclear-powered spacecraft, and it was not even single stage to orbit. It was single stage to the moon. So pretty impressive. And that film also had some great backdrops painted by Chesley Bonistel.
Yeah.
So, and then this one here, this is a Saturn 1B, as of course anyone who's watching this obviously knows, but I built this way back when I was 14 years old. And so this thing is coming up on a half a century old, and it's a flying model rocket, as you can see. So it's just balsa wood and paper, and you know, it's still here. So this is kind of a precious relic from childhood that I've still got.
I can't believe it's still in such good condition.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, I left it at home, and my folks moved, and you know how what parents are like when you've moved out of the house and all your old crap is lying around. So thank heavens they didn't destroy it. And once after college, when I appreciated, hey, you know, I better take care of this stuff, I built a custom shipping crate just to get it out to California.
It's as good a shape as Aldo.
Thanks for asking, Bert.
Hey, Aldo, Michelle mentioned, do you, whenever you want ready to start the gallery show, and you can maybe talk about your art when it's, one by one or something, if you want.
Sure. Yeah, why don't we do that? We'll just, so the plan is, all of you wonderful attendees, we're going to, each of us will kind of briefly go through our art in the gallery and describe what we've done. So we could get started, and I'll hand it off to Michelle and Mark afterwards. So by all means, share the screen. And thank you so much, Ken, for putting this gallery together for us, and as well as this event. So,
of course, great pleasure. Yeah, it's, we definitely want to keep working with you, you know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I would just say, since you are navigating, I am following your lead. Just point to the artwork, and we'll go through them one by one. Just real quick.
Okay, I'll doing this.
Because I don't, since you're doing it, I don't think I have control over the navigation.
Yeah, because I can pass it to you, but I think right now let me do it, and you can just tell me to move on.
I think it's easier if you just do it, though. So who is that guy? So Ken put this together, and Michelle and Mark and I each submitted 6 pieces for this initial gallery opening. And I love this island. If you go outside, we're in the middle of an island, you know, in the middle of the ocean somewhere, and it's nice and calm outside. And maybe at some point we could host a virtual reception with wine and hors d'oeuvres out on the lawn there.
That's in the work. That's in the work.
You'll notice there's a security guy and a woman in the room, and the woman is our art agent, Natasha, and she's tough. If she
Natasha.
Right.
And then we have a billionaire. We have a billionaire there to buy the art.
Yeah, if she catches you walking off with any of the artwork, she will take you outside and throw you in the ocean. Okay, X-20 dinosaur. So I created this piece specifically at the request of Ron Miller, who put together a great spaceships book published by Smithsonian not too long ago, and it's a great book that covers aircraft, aerospace vehicles, real and imagined. And he noted that there weren't many pictures of the X-20 dinosaur concept that showing reentry. So I created this specifically for that purpose. We seem to be jumping around a little bit. Okay, now next piece is Worlds Beckon. This is...
yeah, sorry, jumping around.
It's all right, I'll wait for it to settle down here. Worlds Beckon. So this is kind of a lot of the work I've been doing recently is more is Apollo oriented, even though normally I do futuristic kind of stuff. But you know, hey, we're in the 50th anniversary season of Apollo, so why not? So and by the way, all my work is digital these days, so I'm basically a pixel pusher. So and my work is kind of where some people like Marilyn Flynn. She's translated her art skills as a hand painter to the digital world. So she actually hand paints the majority of her work. Whereas I'm a cheater. I'm going to use, it's basically, I'm using my kindergarten skills to photo montage. So I'll use a lot of photographic elements, either photos I pay for in licensing fees or get from friends or photograph myself. So in this case, that's actually a 12-inch mannequin, a doll figure of an Apollo astronaut that I photographed. The Earth you see, I actually hand painted back in the days when I painted by hand. It's airbrushed and opaque watercolors of the Earth. And the Moon and Mars are photos, but I heavily manipulate everything digitally in Photoshop. And so I'm still hand painting quote unquote, but using Photoshop to accomplish that. So for me, the fun is really composing the scene. I love just composing an image, and I'll start with a pencil sketch and figure out what I want to show, and then I'll kind of take a systems engineering approach and what elements do I need to bring this picture to life. So what I've just described in a long-winded fashion pretty much applies to all the rest of them. So this one I just wanted to shoot. This was an homage to our future in space, whether we go to Moon and Mars first, doesn't really matter, let's just do it. So this next one, Saturn V, I call this one, we came, we saw, we launched, just the magnificent Saturn V in flight. And I actually licensed this one to ST's Industries, and they use it as a package illustration for their 1/200 scale Saturn V kit. Next one. Next one I think is, well, what do you know? Another Saturn V. I mean, if you love rockets, you got to love the Saturn V. So this piece shows the first stage staging event, which I tried to capture the power and the energy of the staging, and there's quite a few steps that happen when a rocket like the Saturn V stages. So I sort of compressed the timeline just to capture it in one image. Next one. Normally I would walk you guys through the gallery, but now that would be cool, Ken. Imagine one day where everyone here who's joining us, we could all beam our avatars into the gallery, and we could have our virtual wine glasses, and we could be kind of walking around through the gallery. And I'm sure
that's in the work. So that's exactly what we're working on. And we'll have wines, coffee, cheese.
Right. So this one here, I got commissioned last year by young Adam Sakowitz. I know Michelle has done some work for him as well.
Yeah.
A young man, lives in Long Island, a very, very politically active young person. And he's like the John Glenn enthusiast on the planet Earth. So he wanted me to show John Glenn re-entering. And I did this version as well as a cutaway where you could see John through the spacecraft, and everyone, of course, when they see that one, is how come there's a big hole in the side of the spacecraft? Okay, and lastly is a more aviation art piece. I call this one Dawn Patrol. This is actually, I worked as an engineer for many years at Northrop Grumman Aerospace Systems in the Advanced Design Group, and as an engineer as well as the head of a group called the Engineering Visualization Resource. So I built a team of engineers with artistic talent, and we basically envisioned the company's future concepts. So this is one of our concepts for a long-range strike vehicle that I did as a commission, just showing it flying along, doing its thing at high speed.
Is that out at Groom Lake now?
Say again, Mark?
Is that out at Groom Lake?
Oh, no. This is more of a generic. Actually, I pieced this together from about 8 different backgrounds because the customer wanted to show kind of a generic mountain, specifically non-deserty kind of looking background. So yeah, of course, you never know what amount of disinformation is built into these things.
Right.
So with that, I'm going to use the flashy thing on you guys.
You flashed us.
I always flash myself. What were we talking about?
What?
Okay, I hand off to either Michelle or Mark, whichever one of you guys want to go next.
I'll just add one thing. So Aldo is also public health aware.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Burke. And just one more moment. That reminds me when Matt asked about how we were doing in sales. I usually don't promote my stuff very often on Fine Art America, but when I did post that these masks were available, and I had a huge surge in sales. I mean, you're only making like like $1 on each one of them, but nonetheless, I'm glad people found them interesting, and I made a big, a big surge in sales, and I'm glad it's for something useful. So thank you, Burke, for showing that. Appreciate it. Okay, on with the show.
I'll go next because I see my artwork right there. And Aldo, I am so glad that you created those masks. And if you could send some more information of how to buy them,
Yeah.
because my selection of just a plain pink and beige and gray and black, I would rather buy something that I know a fellow artist made. So the artwork that you see in front of you is called Ethereality. And this is the piece that recently was sold and that you saw in this banner behind me. I was very, very happy that Dinah Medeiros, she exhibited this piece of artwork, and it got a lot of attention. And I was very happy that people saw it and also posted it on Facebook, and I really happy for that, about that. But the person who bought it, he had been there at the launch, and he was quite moved by this piece. And it's created with water-soluble wax, and the colors just jump right out at you. And I didn't want to have a gray looking moon. I just love embracing colors because it just makes me feel good. So I just collected all the colors that I like, and I drank some wine after work. But I still not like Aldo and Mark. You guys, I am very thankful that you guys are finally feeling the retirement world, and I'm not there yet. I still have to decompress when I get home, and it does help. So, and it's called Ethereality because it's a depiction of something out of this world. And so the next one is called Splashdown, and it has the use of gold, and you'll see some gold in another couple of paintings. There is a person that I could say, Mimi Stewart, who asked me to use gold. Use gold because it has an appeal. And so I have to wear a mask because it's quite toxic, and I have to paint outside. And the important part about this piece is that it encapsulates a moment in time of a splashdown. Um, and this one is depicting Apollo 14. Each each Apollo landing has a certain look. And our dear friend Robert McCall, as Mark Pestana had said, they've inspired us to create certain artwork. He has a painting that has a very similar appeal, and I'm like, I'm drawn to it, so I wanted to create my own, and I enjoy the plume. It's more like a floral with these umbrella form of parachute, and how they collapse and they descend into the sea is beautiful. So if we could go to the next one. And I created, as we're going to the next one, I created one that is in the back here for Apollo 15 that will go into the booklet of Al Worden. Now this one is called Unbroken Kiss. Unbroken Kiss. This is a very, very fun one to make. It was a commission piece for Angelina Jolie when she made the movie Unbroken.
Oh,
And I almost had to decline the commission because each time I was doing research of this piece, I thought, oh my gosh, these people are now in the concentration camp in Japan. There's no way for me to do this. So I had to collect what is unbroken. I thought unbroken hug, unbroken kiss, unbroken kiss. So once I figured out the title of the painting, I finally could get some direction how to make this commissioned piece. And you can see the gold behind the aircraft, and it has a certain appeal. And I made first all the details in there, and I had to take my water soluble wax and I had to go back and forth on it because I had to diffuse all the details. I know us engineers, we just love details, right? Right?
Yeah.
We just love the details. But when it comes to having an expression, an emotion, it has to be, the background has to be diffused. So the foreground is of Louis Zapparini. Louis Zapparini, he was the one that was captured by the Japanese, and he survived this crash. And this moment, of course, the Green Hornet is no longer, but this is the moment of embracing life. And that life is love. And that's why I had to depict the woman in red. And you see that hand, that famous hand? Remember that famous hand? Is that was, and I was thinking, what is the famous hand in that grip? It is that grip where that sailor is dipping the woman to kiss.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't have a man's hand. So what did I do? My models, my poor son. I took a pillowcase and I put in a a body size or very long like king size pillow, and he gripped it, and I took many pictures of it, and he forgot about it, but I sent him the images. My son's hand is in that painting. So we could go to the next one. Just wanted to share that with you guys.
Oh, Michelle, quick comment.
Yes.
I actually got to meet Louis Zamperini 3 times before he passed away. And a lot of the artifacts that belong to him are in the Torrance airport. And a funny story, 2 years ago, when I was looking for a roommate to move in with, I actually was about to move into his old house in Torrance that was built in 1912. So I actually saw on the mantle, on the fireplace above in the home, they still have his old pellet BB gun. So I think in the future, you should contact the Torrance airport, because that glass case where all the artifacts are kept, they might want a copy of that painting of yours.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much. This is very, very important. See? That's why we invite everybody. Thank you very much for that detail. That I did not know that. It's very valuable. So this next piece of artwork is called The Flying Tigers. And this was, if you remember, during World War II, we protected China from the enemy. And at that time in World War II, the enemy was the Japanese. And we had a series of Army, they weren't Air Force, Army, and Navy. They all became pilots, and they started the Flying Tigers. And the Army, Air Corps, and Navy and Marines. And so I was very, very glad to make this piece. And the original, one original was made for the 75th anniversary in, there was a celebration in Hawaii. And then I made a larger one, much larger one, that is in the Tucson International Airport, and it was unveiled in January, this January, at the military lounge. And we all came together, and it was Mark Irwin who created a group of, I think it was about 75 donors to make this military lounge probably the best military lounge in the United States. We put our heart and soul into it, and it's all a donation. So that's that. If you go to the airport and it's on the first floor, nearly in the middle, you can poke your head in, and you will always see some type of military person just waiting for their flight. And just say thank you for your service, and I really appreciate that I have it. So go to the next one, and I don't want to take up too much time because we got we got the Scream on Mars, and I was studying how the artist was creating this piece, and he's right-handed. I could not believe, you know, when you're trying to mimic everything, what the Scream is. And I was impressed how learning all the brush strokes and also the lines. And if we go to the next one, Mona on Mars. And the reason why I put everything on Mars is because just like Buzz Aldrin, Buzz Aldrin is trying to encourage everybody to go to Mars. And I myself, I want to create a movement that we want to invest in our youth to think about going into space. And I know this pandemic has put a bit of a speed bump in aerospace, but us space artists, we have to persevere like everybody else. We got to keep on going. So I created this piece when I was coming home from Greece. So when you're on a long 15-hour flight, what do? You pull out your artwork and you make a painting. So this piece was made between going from Greece to United States. So thank you, Mona. You gave me all the inspiration to go and think of the classics. Yes, this is not a Greek god or goddess. I'm sorry, I know she's Italian, but the romance is there, and because of our history, I love the European history, and this is try to encourage everybody to keep on going and persevere to Mars. Thank you very much, and off to you, Mark.
Okay. Do we have time, Ken? I know the hour's up. Do we have time?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Keep
Don't
going,
worry.
Mark. We want to see it.
Okay. All right. So the next one, I think, is Skylab Survey. So this is depicting America's first space station, Skylab. And I wanted to depict after they've done the repairs. If you read the history of Skylab, you know about the initial failures during the initial launch, and then repair missions, and this is sort of the conclusion of all that to make it a viable space station. And so we have the crew surveying the space station prior to docking. So this would be, I consider, the final mission. The Apollo Command Service Module is making a reconnaissance survey around it before they proceed into dock. And it's a tribute to the initial efforts to learn how to conduct long-duration space flights. The key to going back to the moon and onto Mars, to be able to cope with all the various aspects of long-duration flight. So that's that one. Next.
Beautiful.
This one was an interesting project I call Solar Sonic. It's actually sort of a combination of imagery based on a research project that I was lucky enough to be part of when I was flying for NASA. The project is studying how we can design supersonic aircraft so that they do not make a sonic boom. And that is a requirement by the FAA. If we expect to have supersonic travel across the US, we're perfectly capable of building supersonic transports, but they must not make a boom, according to the FAA and according to the public who cannot stand to hear these things. I say it's the sound of freedom, but notwithstanding.
I love jet noise.
So, in order to understand a lot of this, an old technique is described in the narrative here. German physicist developed Schlerin photography, and what the photography does is use the sun as a backlight, and as that light is refracted through the high pressure shock waves of an airplane, it becomes visible. And Ken, maybe you can zoom in a little on that upper aircraft. It's a T-38. It's based on actual photography that shows it's not a single shock wave in the nose, but there could be 6 or 7 shock waves that are formed over the canopy of the aircraft, the engine intakes, the wing leading edge, the tail leading edge. There you go. That's a good one. The F-18 represents one of the chase planes I flew also in capturing this type of imagery. So it's based on actual photography. In the actual photography, the sun is so overexposed, it's just a white, pure white disk. But I decided to put some astronomical art into it and create this glorious sun with flares and sunspots as these aircraft cross in front of it. Kaboom! Okay.
Boom. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. Next. And by the way, Lockheed is building the X-59. It'll be the first manned X-plane in decades, and it will be shaped according to the studies we've done, and it will fly in a couple of years, and will demonstrate low boom technology. Okay. This one is the STS-44 mission. It was one of the missions I worked on as an engineer in the Air Force. It was a Department of Defense mission. And it was a night launch, and I looked at photography of this launch. I decided I've got to do this painting because it was just spectacular, some of this photography. And of course, in the actual photos, the reason why artists are great at this is because photography gets overexposed by that plume, and you see black, pure black around the orbiter and the external tank and solid rocket boosters. So the artist is able to capture stars and a crescent moon out there. And so this was carrying a payload called Defense Support Program, which used to be something you couldn't mention. But it's a missile early warning satellite that was deployed. And we have these satellites circling the Earth, and they have infrared sensors that detect missile launches. So that's what that is, thunder and light. Next. The next one is based on my experience at Edwards Air Force Base as part of the shuttle recovery team. And it depicts Columbia after the STS-61 mission, landing at sunrise on runway 22 at Edwards Air Force Base. And the convoy, it's actually a tribute to the convoy, because I was part of that convoy, to recover the crew and the orbiter. So you see vehicles approaching from behind. This view is from the commander, the on-scene commander who I work for, and from the command vehicle. And on this side, around the command vehicle, are fire trucks and ambulance. On the other side, you see are all the support vehicles that recover the orbiter. And so this mission happened to be flown by, the commander was Hoot Gibson, and his pilot was Charlie Bolden. And I had the pleasure of having them sign one of these prints for me. So that's a tribute to the shuttle recovery crew at Edwards Air Force Base. The sad part about this is this was the final mission before the Challenger accident. Just 2 weeks later was the Challenger accident. So, and now we have, this is Columbia, which we lost years later, of course. Okay, next one. Next one is a recent one I completed. This is a special aircraft. So many people are aware of the atomic bombs that the U.S. dropped on Japan that ended World War II. Most famous is the B-29 Enola Gay. This is the second airplane, many people are not aware of the story, of Bockscar. B-O-C-K, the pilot's name, Bach, nicknamed this airplane Bockscar. Although he did not fly this particular mission. The crews are switched around airplanes. But the story is, this airplane flew 3 days after the Enola Gay dropped the bomb on Hiroshima. The target for this airplane was Kokura, I believe is the name of the city. Fortunately for Kokura, they were obscured by clouds. Their secondary target was Nagasaki, and we know the outcome of that. It took the second bomb to get the reply from the leadership of Japanese forces that they were surrendering. This decision was made given 2 days after the Enola Gay dropped the bomb. 2 days were allowed to allow Japan to comply with the request for unconditional surrender. It did not happen. So the second mission flew. Of course, that happened. The interesting part of the story that I tried to depict was that it was also obscured clouds near Nagasaki. The order said you will not drop unless you have visual. They would not take just pure timing and navigation. And as it turned out, the bombardier depicted there did get a visual. I created this painting based on our trip last year to Dayton, Ohio. I was at the Air Force Museum with the American Society of Aviation Artists. And we spent one of the days in the museum, all of us spread out, all the artists spread out doing sketching and painting. And I stood in front of this airplane there on display, the actual boxcar. And there was a mannequin in the nose there, the bombardier position. So I essentially had a model, modeling for me. I sat there for several hours sketching, and then I had colored pencils. I brought that home, and then I created this painting depicting this moment where they're breaking out of the clouds. Okay, next painting. Next painting is X-15 rocket plane, research plane. X-15 into space. Just depicting one of the landmark record-breaking milestone flights, this remarkable airplane, one of 3 flown, accomplished in the early days of our space program. And I say space program, it was an aerospace research aircraft, rocket powered. But of the 12 test pilots who flew this airplane, 8 of them earned astronaut wings because they exceeded then the threshold of 50 miles and the altitude record of 67 miles was set. The first pilot to fly into space twice was Joe Walker, who flew this X-15. So that's a little bit of trivia for those of you that follow Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo. The first astronaut to fly into space twice, U.S. astronaut, was an X-15 pilot, Joe Walker. Okay, questions? Or is that the last one? I think that's the last one.
Bravo. Yay. Thank you for putting something of World War II, because we mark this year the end of World War II, and I'm very, very glad that we can remember not to redo what had happened. And it's really important that artwork embraces, and I only create positive artwork, but the artwork embraces history.
History. Tell the stories that a lot of people don't know.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
You visually capture an audience.
It's creating a moment in time to embrace why it's important. Look at that photo.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you so much for the tour of the gallery.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, so appreciate it. That's so exciting. Oh.
Okay. Do we still have an audience?
Yeah.
Like it?
Yes, we do.
22.
I
Cheers. Questions?
Yeah, anyone have any additional questions?
do.
Mimi.
Mimi.
It's not a question. I just wanted to say I really liked the recent arrow brush from the American Society of Aviation Artists, and I especially like art with Mark Pestana and Doug Stewart.
Yes. So tells the
Nice
story.
article.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great artwork. Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, along those lines, Mark, were you holding up a DVD of the Chesley Bonestell show?
Yes, I have a DVD.
Is that available yet?
Okay, it's not available. Special gift from Doug for my efforts. Thank you, Doug Stewart. Actually, if you go to their website, they have opportunities for screenings. Of course, those are all on hold right now, but there were a number of screenings around the country last year. Some of you may have attended one or more. There was one at Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles.
Right.
But they are on the books for several screenings whenever that opportunity arises, as soon as this pandemic lockdown is the restrictions are lifted, they'll go back into it. And there is plans to make a DVD available too. So all it takes is money. And for now, you can't get a hold of it unless you come to my house. We can watch it.
All right. Hey, we're on our way.
I've managed to miss it every time.
And speaking of that, if you do come to my house, do like me, and don't forget to wear your mask. See, I wear a mask.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Show it again.
Put it on the big screen, Ken.
Oh, it's not on? Okay, 1 second, 1 second.
Do I have to do it?
No, I can do it.
Perfect. I gotta save it.
There we go. Yeah. Put on your mask and be safe. Be healthy.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions back here? Any questions back here?
Yeah, what's that one there, Mark? That's on the with the paints in front of it. Yeah, that one.
That's based on a flight. I mentioned about satisfying some commissions earlier, and now that I've done that, I'm doing some paintings for myself. These are paintings I wanted to do for myself, and this one actually depicts a flight where I wasn't carrying my camera a few years ago. So I was flying this NASA F-18 right here, and this is a work in progress, so there's no detail on it. I was flying the F-18 in the restricted airspace, and the restricted airspace is full of other airplanes doing testing and training, and many times they have a tanker up there to support everybody, so you don't have to go through all the overhead of landing to refuel and go back up for your tests. So the tanker's available if anybody wants to get practice too. So I was with another pilot. We flew up to the KC-10, and an F-22 was on the boom getting fuel. Also, over here, I'm going to paint an F-16 chase plane somewhere over here. So I had an F-16 chase and the F-22 and then the KC-10 tanker. And I'll tell you, sitting in that, waiting your turn, it was so spectacular. And I didn't have a camera, but I just thought, okay, I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember this. I'm going to remember this. I'm going to paint this. So now I'm finally painting it.
Very nice.
All right. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's situation awareness.
Yeah, situational awareness. The other one is Air Force. When I was flying Air Force F-16 Edwards, just doing a air combat mission. Again, I didn't have my camera with me, but I was flying this F-16 here, and in the distance was another F-16.
Nice.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
So we're doing this air combat maneuvering over the desert, and it's and I purposely put like the horizon line is sort of diagonally, I guess, across here. Let's see how to do it. Yeah, diagonally across here, the horizon. But I'm trying to give you, the viewer, this feeling that this is what's happening.
Yeah. it's like it's pilots playing chicken. Who's gonna pull
that's
out?
it. Because that's what we're doing. And I just caught a snapshot right there,
Oh, God.
Hey, Mark,
doesn't change.
Very cool.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Mark. When you do these, do you paint from memory or with the planes, or are you using models? What's your reference?
There's a lot of reference photography of these airplanes. So I go through a lot of photos of the airplanes and try to figure out, I get the right markings, and then and I do sketches of different attitudes. Sometimes I use models, but most of the time I'm just looking at pictures, online. I have a lot of books here, but I also look online, and then I choose an attitude that in this case, I really like that attitude of, where it's just, we're peeling over and chasing this other airplane.
I really like the point of view of the one refueling. That's really nice.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so I went online, I looked for pictures of KC-10s refueling and found these nice images, and then, built the composition with the airplane I was in and the F-22.
Nice.
So, yeah. So, anything else?
Here we are.
Love it. It's so with aviation art as well as space art using models, it creates more real lines. So the lines have to be true. When the lines are not true, we cannot get the public to accept what we offer in the realism. So what I try to do is I try to create abstract between finite lines. The line has to be correct. And Mark, you just offered a moment in time to get a feeling in that vantage point. Of course, you couldn't take any pictures. You're in the airplane. You could go outside the airplane, take a picture, and get back in the airplane.
Yeah.
So, but it offers us a moment in time that these two pilots are playing chicken.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. Yeah. Yeah, and I try to, you know, a lot of photography is beautiful, but I try to bring in a lot of atmospherics into these. You can kind of see I'm creating this. There's this glow of the sun out there above, shining down on these planes. We're actually on the shadowed side of the airplane, so we're looking into the sun, and there's glare, and the atmospherics are part of this. I love clouds. I love how light plays on clouds in the air, and how it filters through, and you see rays coming through, breaks in the clouds, the sun rays. You see the shadows of the clouds out on the desert floor. So besides paying attention to what I'm doing here, I guess half of my brain is doing all the mechanical, mathematical, and the other one is I'm just in awe, I'm dreaming, I'm visualizing what's going on. I'm taking it all in, trying to take it all in. And
so what are you gonna name this? That's
you know, the hardest thing is titling this. It could be Take a Number, because there's airplanes waiting to get their gas here, you know, so it's, you know, Take a Number, or you know, something like that. Or it could be the technical term for these tankers that come in from other bases in the Air Force, and they spend maybe 2 or 3 weeks here supporting the business of flight test. It's called business effort. They call it business effort. So that could be the title, but nobody would know what that meant. Business effort.
No.
Yeah.
So because
help me out.
The public won't understand.
Help me out. Yeah.
Take a number.
Take a number.
Huh?
Number.
What did you say, Doug?
I said full service.
Full service.
I like that.
Fill her up, baby.
Full service. Yeah.
Yeah, they get the windshield wipe.
I was just gonna say that if they could get the bugs off the windscreen, yeah.
Squirt gun.
Yeah, squirt gun. Yeah.
Yeah. What about the other painting? What are you gonna name that?
Fini flight. That was my last Air Force flight. So Fini, F-I-N-I. It's the Latin for the end, the finish.
Yeah, fin.
Yeah, fine. F-I-N-I.
Yeah.
So Fini flight, or my Fini flight, or something like that, maybe. So that was my last Air Force flight before I retired.
Beautiful. So what year did you retire?
2005 from the Air Force. I continued with NASA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay. When did you retire from NASA?
2013.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time. As some of you may know, I continued as a contractor, though I'm consulting. And in fact, one of the projects I'm working on right now is not for NASA, but for another flight test organization out at Mojave Air and Spaceport. So I'm consulting on a special project out there involving drones.
Beautiful. Yeah, and AIAA has that beautiful technical committee of UAVs, and I really am glad that you're part of it.
Yeah.
Each one of us with AIAA, we can provide our expertise in that area, and we keep on going because our knowledge, we really can offer in those areas.
Yeah,
I'm
proud to be
glad.
part of that. Yeah. Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
So Man, I'm really, really happy about our folks that stayed on and you know, came through and watched us and heard us. And Lou, uh, um, uh, I'm not saying Lou, Ken, it doesn't help with this wine. Sorry, Ken, Ken, thank you very much for
great
all that
pleasure.
you've done
Yeah.
and providing and hosting us and
And Marty
giving us
too.
a
Marty,
wonderful opportunity.
good to see Marty there too.
Hey,
Marty hasn't said anything.
Yeah, Marty, you haven't said anything. What's life in Vegas like?
it's quiet.
How's Las Vegas?
That's awesome.
Very, very quiet.
Yeah, well, quiet and healthy. Huh?
Yeah, it's very interesting to drive down the strip.
Oh,
And see maybe 10 people total.
Wow.
So, yeah, all boarded up and few lights are on, but it's incredible. That's
well,
incredible.
we're looking forward, hopefully, to the Ascend conference. If that ever happens, we're waiting to see.
Yeah, I got an email today. They're kind of in there. I think early June they're going to decide what they're going to do.
Okay.
We might have a virtual thing instead, or to augment it. Hard to say.
Okay.
So,
yeah, Michelle shared an email today earlier too, I saw.
Anything happening around the end of the year is right in that gray zone where we're not quite sure yet if, you know, even if it is allowable, are people going to be comfortable going to a big event? So I can understand the challenge for, you know, anyone who's organized a big event. You know, it's hard, but just hang in there.
I think a lot of it's the infrastructure. You know, to run a hotel that has thousands of rooms. Like, what do you do? How much staff do you hire? How long till you have enough advanced bookings to fill that up? You know, the whole kind of supply chain of bringing people here. How many performers do you hire for doing how many shows? How much food do you order for a buffet, or will there ever even be buffets again? So it's very complex. It's probably one of the most complex cities in the world to reopen.
Yeah.
And then the demand destruction. Are people going to want to come here and be monitored? That's not why they come to Las Vegas. And it's a whole other deal. It's very interesting to see so many, you're looking at the buildings, thinking of all the empty hotel rooms. It's staggering.
You should visit Waikiki. It's like a ghost town.
Oh, really? Wow. Huh. A similar thing. So, yeah.
Well, thank heavens we could do this. I mean, you know, obviously they've had video conferencing and this technology for a while, but I think this is, you know, this kind of gathering it's going to fundamentally change a lot the way a lot of businesses work and a lot of events happen. You know, not, of course, we all want to be able to get together, but I think this kind of connectivity is going to remain a part of anything that gets done from now on. So it's
we can do more the virtual gallery, virtual reception, the avatar. We'll do more whenever you like.
You know, you think about the airlines. You know, they need all the airplanes that they have. How much of that's going to come back? It's
absolutely
pretty staggering because, you know, I think this Zoom thing is a good thing, and people are. You can accomplish a lot. There's still a lot that you need to travel for, but this probably takes it 30% out of that travel and makes people think twice before traveling and say, no, I could just do that on Zoom and it doesn't cost anything. So it's pretty amazing. You know, the A380, I was reading today on the AIAA thing, like their airlines are dropping their orders for those. I think Airbus is shutting down A380 production.
Yeah. Well, Air France it's shutting the line down, and if Air France does it, you know, obviously everyone else is too. So, wow, that's pretty staggering. Yeah,
it's incredible.
Yeah. So this is what I imagine for us, with us dealing with the public and COVID-19. We have to be able to practice not only not social distancing, it's physical distancing. Social is, we want to be social, but we have to practice physical distancing. So if you can imagine, and there was one mother that created a YouTube clip of the virus as if it was glitter. And if we think glitter are those, coronavirus, we can be able to think of a visual if we protect ourselves. Not only do we protect ourselves in the virus, but we're trying to take off the mask or keep our hands clean, or if we have gloves, that we take off the gloves properly. If we are able to handle that correctly, we can do what we can come together physically, but we have to be able to protect ourselves. I do a lot of research on this because I'm a union president, and I have to research all this, and I have to understand what's going on with the public, and also coming back to work, and also physical. Many people, they just think of the work world, but we have to also think of the whole picture and think of the person as they're also protecting themselves during shopping or people coming into their house and thinking, let's say they have glitter on themselves, they have to understand how do they make sure if they have something, and think of the coronavirus as a fleck of glitter, making sure that everything's cleaned off. It's just a good mental visual to protect themselves. I myself, I'm going to be traveling to go and visit my son, and I have to make sure that I'm completely physically protected. So I'm doing a one-way flight. My husband and I, we're going to be driving up to Phoenix and getting on a direct flight and protecting ourselves. And it is going to be a challenge. So I'll let you know how that goes.
Michelle, you want to borrow my spacesuit?
I was just thinking that.
Yes.
Bet you could rent that sucker out for quite a bit now, Burke. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, given what it costs, my rent's going to be pretty high.
Only for good friends. Yeah. All right. Oh. Well, has everyone had enough to drink yet? Yeah. Hey, Brad.
Work hours here.
What's the next Zoom?
Well, Ken's always got something going
no. Aldo, talk about what your next event is on Zoom with you and Rick.
As a matter of fact, yeah, let me share a quick screenshot. Hey, Ken, can you enable screen sharing for me?
Yay! We got to go. Next party.
That's right, exactly, yeah. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Three space continuers.
What is it?
So this is an event that's happening May 30th. It's my good buddies Rick, of course, who's here, and Rod Pyle. This is a reprise of an event we did in February, actually, where we talk about the famous spacecraft in the world of science fiction. So I think we did it in front of a live audience in Los Angeles in February, and we're going to do the same thing, but we'll cut back on our individual presentations. Each of us will talk for like 10 or 15 minutes, and then we'll answer questions from the audience about spaceships. And Burke, I already have your question about what spaceships might have looked like in the Blade Runner universe, which, you know, there's been 2 Blade Runner movies, and they allude to the off-world colonies, but we don't know anything about that. So I'll be ready to talk about that, at least my opinion about it. But it should be a lot of fun. But I had a lot of fun just putting this artwork together. So if your favorite franchise is not represented here, I'm sorry.
Well, I see you put your Destination Moon rocket in good use there.
Well, yeah, exactly. But you know, I made the artwork, so I put down my favorite. You know, someone already commented, "Where's Doctor Who?" And my response is, "I don't know. Where is Doctor Who?" But in any case, should be fun. You're all welcome. There's plenty of AIAA notices about it, so hang out with us again.
Hey, Aldo.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask you ever since I heard of this event you're doing. I was going to ask you, I've had this book for years. Do you know of this book?
Ooh, I got one. I got that.
That had a name. The trans something. There's a whole series of those books, and there's
Spacecraft in Fact and Fiction.
Right, but
you're talking about the Terran Trade Authority.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly it. So there's a whole bunch of the mostly British artists, Chris Moore and Chris Foss, and a whole bunch of others who contributed to that series. So,
okay.
Matter of fact, since I was recently asked to do 10 days of artists who influenced, my own art practice, I included Chris Foss, who's one of the main contributors to that book and other books like it. But great stuff. Yeah, the Terran Transit Authority, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, good man. My son is my gardener today, so he just mowed the front lawn, telling me he completed the project. So
nice.
Yeah. We still have people here. All right.
We should answer any questions. Do our guests have any questions for us? We would love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
Please. We would love to hear from you.
Going to go see Jeopardy?
Don't be shy. Come on.
I think Burke has a question. Burke.
It's Jeopardy for this. That's true.
Who has a question?
Burke.
Sorry, were you able to hear me or no?
Oh, there. Go ahead, Burke.
I was just saying, I'm sorry, I've got to sign off. I got to call my dad, who's in Texas right now. But thank you all for doing this. I look forward to seeing you guys at the next Space Fest, whatever that is. Until then, be well, everyone.
Take care,
all right, thanks, Burke.
Prosper.
And Rick and Aldo, I'll see you guys next week. Live long and prosper. See you, Michelle.
See you.
Mark.
I'm going to have to bow out as well.
Okay.
We love you guys.
All right.
Okay, well, thanks, everyone. We really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you
again for being our gracious host and sponsor. And, this is the start of many great events like this, I'd say.
Exactly.
Yep. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
All righty.
There's not too many of us, so got to keep growing it.
Yeah. All right.
Thank
well,
you,
take care, everybody.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi.
Thank you,
Michelle.
AIAA. Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Thank you.
All right.
Good night,
Night.
Northwest.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Stay well.
See you. See y'all.